NASSCOM Technology and Leadership Forum 2024. I'm Manisha Nair Dhawan. Beyond pretty pictures and impressive presentations, what can generative AI do for us, our lives and for businesses? This is a question that we are seeking to answer. I have with me Mr. Sreekrishnan Venkateswaran, CTO Kyndryl India. Thank you so much, Mr. Venkateswaran, for speaking with us.
Hello.
Now, as a big modern technology service provider, how do you see the human technology co-evolution shaping the world of AI that we are living in? How is the end user on the streets experience shaping modern technology?
Thanks, and great question. See, in the new world, the end user on the street is the persona around whom technology revolves. And it is the end user experience that technology seeks to improve. So because today business KPIs are intertwined with end user experience, and technology KPIs are connected with business KPIs. So there is that direct linkage. So taking our own case, Kyndryl, today we understand industries and sectors in a far deeper way. So for example, let's say a telecom provider asks us to modernize their talk time recharge application. So now the first order goal there would be, can the telco provider, as a result of this modernized application, sell more talk time per end user on the street? Or will the end user on the street, can he or she get a faster recharge experience? Right. Now taking another example in the case of healthcare. So we recently saw a company called Neuralink announcing implantable brain chips that can be embedded in the brain. And this is giving rise to a new technology called brain computer interface, or BCI, which means that human beings can control machines with just their thoughts. Yeah. So imagine if you can drive your smart car with your mind, or play a video game with your brain, right? Or talk to your cell phone or your computer with just by thinking, right? And then there is also today a confluence of robotics, humanities and biology. So it's called humanizing missions. So we have this concept of humanoids. So one very popular example of a humanoid is this robo by name Sophia. And the third example that I want to tell you is, see, fintech in India of 2024 is really a classic use case of how the end user on the street is influencing and impacting technology. See, it's often said that Silicon Valley innovates for the first billion in the world, and India innovates for the rest 6 billion. So the 6 billion are all end users in the global south. Right? So let's take two examples in fintech. One is, see, the flooding of UPI of core banking in India, that has taken this field called availability engineering to a new level. So because if today, if the UPI services are down by even 1 minute, that translates to tens of thousands of unhappy customers. And as a company, you can't afford to have more than that many unhappy customers. So now the availability engineering requirements far surpass what we have usually seen, even in the airline industry in the West. Another example is, see, one of the main things around innovation in fintech of India today is about financial inclusion, right? Can you achieve financial inclusion? And one of the reasons why that is challenging financial inclusion in India is limited access to credit. So now the question is, can we use technology, which is AI and data and platform engineering? Can we use that to spur lending action in the economy, to remove friction from the lending system, to create the equivalent of a UPI on the lending side? So if technology can answer this, and technology has already answered this, right? So these are examples of why the end user on the street is in the middle of this new tech, new AI of this decade.
Okay, you gave the example of BCI. Does it mean that the machine also knows my secret thoughts?
Could be.
That's a little scary.
Yeah, well, today if you Google for any article of your interest, seconds later your Instagram or Gmail throws up.
You.
This is very relevant, right? So
So a lot is happening. But
technology has taken the punch out of that way many years earlier already. So
right now, given that all the work is being done, how do you see businesses effectively leveraging the capabilities of generative AI to drive innovation?
Another great question. So, as Kyndryl, we have thousands of customers worldwide, hundreds of customers in India. So we see across industries. So we see a lot of use cases, right? And since the rebirth of AI 15 months back in the form of GPT, we have done a lot of experiments. We have done a lot of prototyping. We have implemented a lot of customer use cases around generative AI. And what we have seen is that if I abstract it out into two large buckets, there are two first order use cases, right? That is triggering a domino impact across industries. The first bucket is around search. So just a year or two earlier, search was considered a commodity with no budget. Today, that search has been elevated to semantic search, and it is part of boardroom conversations. So the boardroom is discussing how can we use this new search technology to reach new markets, new customers, or how do we reach existing customers in new ways, right? So today, search is not about pattern matching, but it is about unleashing a cognitive engine on top of data, right? And creating a reasoning, analysis on top of that data. So the question is, can this analysis be based on context awareness, based on the user intent, right? So that is what the new search is taking us to. And we have this natural language processing or NLP models across industries. So if you want to analyze clinical text, you use medical NLP models. If you want to do, for example, financial sentiment analysis, you have financial NLP models. So it's really all across in terms of diffusion. And the second bucket, like I said, was around code generation. So today, we have several models, like for example, Code Llama from Meta as an example, where the model, you convey an intent and the model can generate code in a strong programming language, like for example, Java or Python or C++ and so on. And what it does, this permeates intelligent software across industries. So as a developer, today, if you can churn out, say, 50 lines of tested code a day, with the assistance of these models, you can perhaps generate 10 times that many lines of code a day, let's say 500 lines of code a day, right? And like code generation, we have now new models just last week, OpenAI released Sora, right, which is a video generation. From prompts, can you generate video and so on. So this is the other category. But then, on the one hand, generative AI and allied technologies, they have unlocked unparalleled creativity across the board. But at the same time, they have also brought out novel challenges to cybersecurity. So today we have kind of cyber threats that we have never even heard earlier. To give you one or two examples, now there is a threat called model inversion. What that means is, if somebody can control the parameters of a model and manipulate those parameters to control the output generated, that is called model inversion. Or there is something called data poisoning or model poisoning, where you influence the training data so that a particular output gets generated, right? And then to compound it, the large language models are all probabilistic in nature, which means that the same question posed to it can yield different results at different points in time, which means it is tougher to recreate problems because of this probabilistic nature. And then there is the aspect of hallucination that developers have to contend with. And hallucination is not a bug, it's a feature, because if you remove hallucination, you also remove useful entropy. So that's actually a property of these new models. And then these models are also to some extent black boxes, which means that the explainability of why a model behaved in a certain way, that explainability is limited. So the point is that hand in hand with this unparalleled creativity that this technology is unleashing, the developers also have to grapple with this new novel challenges to cybersecurity.
All right, those they're quite an eye opener actually. The first time I'm hearing about all this. But how can businesses balance the efficiencies that generative AI brings in while having a positive impact on the workforce as well? Could there be job losses because of Gen AI?
See, from a workforce perspective, the first thing would be to convince the workforce that what's good for the corporation is good for the workforce. So if the corporation does not listen to the market, and if the corporation gets disrupted, that cannot be good for the workforce. So it is imperative to let technology seep into the core of your business model and transform, rather than let it tiptoe in the periphery. So we know that market shifts can rattle the foundations of the most prominent of enterprises, right? In this new world, nobody is safe, right? If you don't communicate meaningfully with the market, you risk being fossilized. So there are many famous global examples of this. You have Xerox, you have Kodak, you have
Nokia,
BlackBerry. Exactly, BlackBerry, Blockbuster, and so on and so forth. Even in India, if you look at it, a few years earlier in the telco space, we had 10 significant players, and today we have 3, which means that 7 have got disrupted. 3 have not only escaped disruption, but they have thrived in it, right? They have created opportunities out of this. Similarly, like you said, the cell phone manufacturing or the airlines, right? So some airlines were carrying millions of passengers a month, and then they shut shop just a couple of years down the line. So in short, disruption is all around us, and technology is needed to survive. So as a member of the workforce, I should want my company to let technology in, right, without any apprehensions. Now on the second part of your question on jobs, right? See, the correlations in this space are complex. So that's what we call a multivariate equation. So there are multiple job trajectories. One job trajectory is a new technology comes in, it transforms, it creates a net new economy, a net new market, creates vast amounts of new jobs, both low skilled as well as high skilled. Another trajectory is this new technology comes in, it creates new high skilled jobs, but it takes away vast amount of low skilled jobs. That is another. So to give you an example, let's take the automotive sector. In the same sector, you would find both trajectories. So in the app-based taxi space, right, the app-based taxi, they revolutionized the traditional business model, right, and they created vast new employment for drivers because friction was removed from the system, and some high-skilled jobs around exponential technologies. Now take the case of same sector, self-driving cars. Now this sector is still maturing. Assuming that the sector is mature enough and it is safe enough for people to navigate those cars, it might substantially reduce the number of driving jobs, but it might still create a smaller number of high-tech jobs, right? So there are these conflicting technologies. Now let's come to India. Now in India, as per various statistics, about 1 million Indians enter the working age population every single month. Every month. So just to maintain our current level of employment, the calculations say that you have to create about 8 to 9 net new jobs every year. And the goal of the government is also to sustain GDP growth close to double digits, right? So for all of this, we cannot continue investing in the traditional technologies alone, right? The traditional manufacturing, the traditional textiles, and so on. The way is to look at sunrise technologies, biotech, digital manufacturing, generative AI, robotics, and so on and so forth. And the good thing is that these technologies are showing a steep growth curve, which means that they are generating a lot of jobs. So so complex space, complex correlations, multivariate equations, but as a nation, we have to create those 8-10 million net new jobs every year by looking at this new tech.
It sounds very interesting, and it sounds something which is going to be very sustainable and something that everybody would themselves want should it happen in a responsible fashion. Thank you so much, Sindhu, for speaking with us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Pleasure being here.